Hey everybody, Kim Carter here, and I am starting today with a new little feature I think I'm going to call Babblicious, where I kind of talk to you off script about things that I like. And I'm going to start with some things that are pretty relevant to this channel, and today I thought I would talk some about why I love ASMR roleplay and why I feel like it was kind of made for me. So I'm going to do that and tell you some things about myself so that you can see the connections and see why I'm so excited about this and why it has really lit up my world. One thing that you need to know about me is that ever since I've been little, I have fallen in love with voices. Because when you're little, you watch a lot of animated stuff, right? So there are voices attached to that. And you understand that from a young age. So even all the way back then, I started falling in love with voices. And I was way more interested in how things sounded than how they looked. And I think I am an auditory or oral learner, definitely, because that's just how I take in the world. My ears are incredibly sensitive, and they always have been, to say nothing of the fact that, unfortunately, in high school I developed hyperacusis in my left ear, so that's no fun. Anyway, going back to these voices. So, when I was little, some of the voices that I fell in love with included Justin's voice from The Secret of NIMH, Lance in Voltron, voiced by the incredible Michael Bell, and it just kind of stacked on from there. Always through my life, I was always finding these voices that I became obsessed with, and certainly being introduced to anime in high school did nothing to dampen that. Then I got to fall in love with voices in a whole new language, like Toski in Fushigi Yugi. Or I did listen to the dub of Trigun, so Mr. Johnny Young Bosch as Vash the Stampede. What an incredible voice he has. Not to mention Wolfwood and Legato. I mean, lots of great voices in that show. Oh, I forgot to mention somebody so important from my childhood. Leonardo from the Turtles. I started watching that when I was really young, and it was extremely formative for me, especially if you go back and watch the very first episode of that, because there's this moment that has always stuck with me, and it's when they're explaining their origins to April. And they kind of come back to the present, and April says something like, "Did you ever find out who did it? Like, who dropped the canister, who transformed Splinter, all that." And Leo is sitting there, like, polishing his sword, I think, like, on one knee as he says this. And he was like, "No, but when we do, we will force him to make our master human once more." And his voice actually drops a little bit from where it normally is, because Leo's sometimes kind of up high, right? Like, he sounds like kind of anxious because he's trying to wrangle these other three idiots, right? It's okay, no, I love all the turtles. They're not idiots. Well, okay, that's debatable. But anyway. But his voice actually drops when he delivers that line, and something about that really struck me as a young child and just stayed with me. I was like, ooh, now that's a hero. That's what I want to see. And I just fell head over heels. In fact, I like to tell the story that when I was little, like many little girls, my favorite color was pink. Pink, 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 until all of a sudden it was blue all the time. And still is to this day. Now, I'm not entirely sure. Did I start liking Leonardo because I liked the color blue? Or did I start liking blue because I liked Leonardo? And I'm pretty sure it was the latter. Anyway, that's probably the biggest example of me falling in love with a voice. So, okay, that's kind of building block number one. I have very sensitive ears, and I always fall in love with voices. So what else kind of makes this perfect for me? I think the other part comes from my very active participation in fandom over the years, and fan fiction along with that. Reading it, writing it, collaborating with friends to write it. It's been a big part of my life. I still write it. If you want to check out my AO3 account, you are more than welcome to do so. You will find Doctor Who, Star Trek AOS, and Voltron. So there you go. And something that I was introduced to through fanfiction is the concept of a Mary Sue. Now, don't go rolling your eyes at me. Just hang on a second. Don't dismiss that out of hand. You gotta wait to see where I'm going with this, okay? Now, of course, the classic Mary Sue is a character that often is meant to represent the author, and they're inserted into a fanfic, and all the characters fall in love with usually her, and, she has, violet eyes and rainbow hair and all these special powers and stuff, just ridiculously OP, right? And all the characters fall in love with her and everything's amazing. And actually, one of the first times I saw that kind of called out was a friend of mine going through a list of fanfics and calling it out where they had sort of tried to disguise the Mary Sue. Like, oh, this character discovered they had a long-lost daughter. Or, in this disaster, the hero finds this mysterious girl, blah, 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 blah. And my opinion on Mary Sues and self-inclusion is be honest about what you're doing. Because I have written Mary Sues. Because I love the idea. I live in my head a lot. I imagine all the time. And I love picturing myself with characters or inserting them into my daily life and imagining what they would do in a situation. It helps distract me. It helps get me through the workday, whatever the case may be. So I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that writing Mary Sue fanfiction, there's nothing wrong with it so long as you're honest about what you're doing. Either make an original character, don't make them ridiculously OP, don't make everybody fall in love with them. Make them a real, fully realized, multi-dimensional character with a backstory, with motivation. That's fine. Do that. Make a real original character. Or make a Mary Sue, but call it a Mary Sue. Be ridiculous. Give yourself violet eyes and rainbow hair and have everyone fall in love with you. That's fine. Just call it what it is, though. There's nothing wrong with that fantasy, and a lot of us have it. So why not just call it what it is and indulge in it head on? Now, obviously, that's going to be kind of an important building block into why ASMR roleplay, with this listener role being open, fits me so well. I'll keep going through my list, and then I think you're going to see how these all tie together. The next important building block for me was being introduced to radio theater. So, in the 1930s, when radio was huge, in case you don't know, there were shows on the radio that were dramatic before TV. You had things like The Lone Ranger, The Shadow, Little Orphan Annie. I seem to recall that was a thing as well. And they could be dramatic, they could be comedic, but they were narrative stories told only with voices and sound effects. And for some reason, I just really loved that. It must be me being an auditory learner, my sensitive ears, whatever it is. I love the idea of that, of telling a story just with sound. It fascinates me. So when I bumped into this was when I discovered, or when I saw my favorite movie for the first time in 1993, a very little known George Lucas movie called Radioland Murders. And it's about a radio station in the 1930s. And as the title indicates, there's a bunch of murders, and they need to figure out who's killing everyone against the backdrop of this radio station. And throughout the night, there's lots of different radio theater skits. And I just love that movie. I still love it today. It's a zany comedy. It's by no means a perfect movie, but it is so much fun. It has quite a few famous people in it. In fact, probably one of the last appearances of George Burns before he passed away. It's got Christopher Lloyd, Bobcat Goldthwait. I mean, they're in small roles. Oh, even Joey Lawrence has a little cameo. Go figure. And it's just tons of fun. Please go check it out. Anyway, that kind of set my imagination going a little bit, and I kind of filed it away and watched that movie over and over again. And then when I was in college, the college radio station had a radio theater group. So I'm like, well, this is fantastic. This is my chance to try this in real life. And I did, and I loved it. I loved it so much. The first thing we did was Pecos Bill, and I got to be like a damsel in distress, and it was fantastic. Oh, the guy voicing the bad guy in that was so good. His voice was so sexy, and he was kind of hot, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, the thing is, it's just an incredible feeling. You're in a studio, like a proper studio with the glass windows and the soundproofing. You're in front of a mic with a group of people. So you're all standing around and you've all got the script in front of you. Because we did this live. This was not recorded all separately and edited back together. We did it like they would have done it in the old days, and we did it live. And, sometimes things did go wrong. We had electronic sound effects and for some of the things, and sometimes they didn't go off when they needed to, so there could be issues with that. And everybody had their headsets, and we did crowd background noise as well. That was actually honestly my least favorite part, where you'd have to basically pretend you were at a party, but you're just standing there with your radio theater friends being like, hi, and have to try and make up something to say. I always remember that Reese would, whenever we would have to do background noise, he would just take this breath, and he would always start with, well. Just kind of makes me laugh. Reese was he was an older guy, and he kind of mentored me through being a DJ and doing radio theater. We wrote scripts together and collaborated on stuff, and it was a lot of fun. And he actually passed away a few years ago, so the fact that I'm standing in front of this mic right now is actually partly due to him. So, Reese, wherever you are, just thank you for that. Okay, so I was only at that school for 2 years, so I only had that amount of time to enjoy the limelight of radio theater before it was no longer there. And I really, really enjoyed it. I'm sure you can hear in my voice how much I'm smiling because I loved it. So of all the kinds of performing that I've done, because I've been on stage, I've done plays, I've done dance, I'm a Zumba instructor, I've been in chorus, I've been in band, I've done little dorky videos with my friends, but voice acting is my favorite. It really is. I don't have to worry about what my face is doing, and I like to think that I'm pretty good at controlling what my voice is doing. So I just really love it. And when I stumbled upon this ASMR roleplay back in January, I was just blown away. This exists. People are doing this. This is amazing. It's almost like entertainment is coming back around full circle between this and podcasts. It's amazing. And with the rise of audiobooks as well. I just think it's great that we're getting back to telling stories. And those are kind of all the pieces of my life that have set me up to just fall head over heels in love with this art form. Of course, I'm always going to have a special place in my heart for radio theater, but this almost even takes it to another level, because the listener role is open. You can be the Mary Sue. You can be part of it, and you can imagine it however you want. And you've got these amazing voices telling these amazing stories. You can get wrapped up in it. It's like... Now understand, I know that it's not, but it's like it was made for me. This is so perfect for me. Honestly, when I told my therapist about this and explained to him what it was all about, he immediately got it. He understood it. He was like, oh, this is so great for you. And as someone who's struggled with depression and anxiety and struggled with feelings of self-worth, this is just perfect. There's all these wonderful comfort audios out there. There's a way to fight the loneliness because you're never alone when you can click a button and have someone talk to you. Not just to a whole audience, not to someone else, to you. Just like I'm talking to you right now. You're not really alone. And I think that's so uplifting and that's so incredible. On top of the fact that you have these amazing voices that I've fallen so head over heels in love with. That you have these stories that have a role open to insert yourself into. And this amazing throwback to radio theater, to an art that I was so heartbroken had been lost, really isn't. I'm doing my best to describe how life-changing this is for me, how excited I am, how much I love it, how it fills my cup, how it feeds my soul. I know that probably sounds overly dramatic, but hey, if I can't share my feelings here, then what's even the point? So I just wanted to share those feelings and stories with you and explain with those 3 key components: voices, fantasy and Mary Sue, and radio theater, why it feels like ASMR roleplay is made for me. And just how much I love it, how I can't get enough of it. And I went from just listening to listening and writing, and then listening and writing and collaborating and creating. And I just want to keep going. And I'm really happy that you're here with me, if you stayed through listening to this entire babbling account. And I hope in the comments you tell me what ASMR roleplay has done for you. How has it impacted your life? And maybe what stories in your life drew you to it? Maybe there aren't any. Maybe this is your first exposure to anything like this. That's okay. What drew you in? What keeps you here? And I was exposed to ASMR and then sort of the ambient ASMR videos, I guess I would say. For example, ASMR Weekly on his channel, he does a lot of ambient videos, especially geeky ones like studying at Hogwarts, and you hear the fire burning in the background, and the occasional owl goes by, and quills scratching, and I really was into those. I still do listen to those sometimes. There's a Star Trek one I love to sleep to. That's on my sleepy time playlist, so do check that out. Super relaxing. So I like those kinds of things. I don't like traditional ASMR with the tingles because I hate the tingles. I actually hate that. My ears are so sensitive that when I get that tingle feeling accidentally, blah, I don't like it at all. So you will not see me. Well, actually, I probably wouldn't mind doing it if you guys decided you wanted to hear that kind of thing, though I'd have to look up how because I don't really know. But you will definitely not catch me listening to it because the tingles do not do it for me. I am here for the stories. I'm here for the drama. I'm here for the comfort, for the fun. And I'm glad that you're here too. Until next time.